completely different skill set and completely different dynamic.
Here we go then, 5 red lights in Zandvoort, getting this race underway. Xander Van Dyken leading the way in towards turn number 1. Jake Benham looking to go up the inside and already take that position. Little bit of contact between Thomas Ronhaar and Tom Manley for P3 as they approach Tarzan Bock for the first time in this race. Thomas Ronhaar going around the outside of Xander Van Dyken, but it's Jake Benham to the lead of the Grand Prix. Xander Van Dyken from pole position already dropping into third as they approach the first sector.
Yep, and you can see some changing around already happening. So Jano up in P8, he just got around Shanaka Clay, and you can see that everyone is just trying to find some initial space. You've got 2 wide going through some of these corners. A bit further down, Luke Smith, Van Pookie trying to find their slots, and that Alpine looking absolutely squeezed as they're going on the inside. But Tom Manley, Xander Van Dyken, they're going to be duking it out, going side by side. Apex through the right side, Apex through the left is going to be Xander. He's going to be pushing as much as he can.
His force feedback issues, he doesn't want to risk a battle when he's not feeling the wheel, and I think Ismail Fassi looking to reap the rewards potentially. Further back behind though as Thomas Ronhaar goes for the move for the lead of this race. Luke Smith looking for the move on Andrei Tarabukin. 2 very easy moves by the more durable tyres, in Thomas Ronhaar's case the hards, in Luke Smith's case the mediums, and those are easy moves to take their position. So favourable tyres at the minute of the softs when he's not been able to maximise their potential. You know, he could potentially be looking at not finishing inside the points. Oh dear, a little bit of contact between Isfan Pookie and Shanaka Clay. I cut in on myself there. Isfan Pookie, what was that move? I gotta say, Shanaka was well and truly alongside Isfan there and completely just bumps into the side of him, pushes Shanaka off the circuit. That's going to do for one for the stewards to look at, but Shanaka once again in the wars here in WOR. He always gets close to the back of Thomas Ronhaar, but never pulls the trigger and never goes for the move.
Yeah, it's that constant will I, won't I, but saying that, Opmir in the pit, first one to do so, and looks like the other 2 soft runners are going to be staying out for another lap. 2 more. Mediums will be the next ones to make that call, and Ismail Farsi, 11 laps only on the mediums, is going to be the next in, as Pookie and Tarabukin are going out further.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting call for Ismail Fassi to come into the pit lane for a set of the hards. Those mediums definitely had a little bit more life left in them, especially when you consider the fact that Andrei Tarabukin and Isfan Pookie, they are still remaining out on...
Usually this would be the point where I'd say, right, you're looking at about 50-60% wear on this tyre, 20-30% on this tyre. We see a trade of positions between the Alpine cars. That's Luke Smith making a move on Presnader, as Isfan Pookie finally coming into the pits. 15 laps on those softs. He's going to be coming out onto mediums, as Ruben Pedreno is going to be defending off of Kai Pearson.
And there goes Tom Manley for the net lead of this Grand Prix through on Jarno Opmeer. That's 2 lap fresher, hard tyres strapped onto the AlphaTauri. Shouldn't have been a very difficult move for Tom Manley whatsoever. And this is when Jarno Opmeer has got to keep his wits about him. He really does have to fight with everything to stay in this train.
You can see a bit further in the back, Bench Sabakonyi and Ruben Pedreno, they're going to be side by side. They're going to be taking the fight to each other, getting very close alongside one another. And Sabakonyi should have the tyre advantage. He's on basically fresh medium, as good as he can get on the grip, but Pedreno is still holding that position off.
Yeah, my word, Ben Shabakani actually dipping a tyre into the grass there, almost coming to blows. That could have been a very ugly scene between himself and Ruben Pedreno. Luckily, it did not end out that way, as Thomas Ronhaar is into the pit lane. This should be a set of the medium tyres to finish off this race for the Sauber driver. Same thing for Tamas Gow, and where will they emerge in comparison to Tom Manley, Jarno Opmeer, and Ismail Fassi, who now will be inheriting the lead of this Grand Prix. Thomas Ronhaar will be a long way down in the order, but of course on those mediums should have a lot of pace in the back of that Sauber car. And Sappi, this is where the race really does begin.
Has really caused a bit of a stir, both for us and for the chat, because you can see him right now, P4, looking quite confident, as he has made quite a substantial movement in this grid, and he could tip the balance as we come into the second half of the race.
And Luke Smith making the move on Ismail Fassi. Ismail beginning to struggle on these tyres to keep up with the younger hards on Jake Benham and Luke Smith cars of Andrei Tarabukin. Jake Benham is pretty much hugging the rear of Reese Linton, heading down the start-finish straight, charging like a bull up the inside and towards turn number 1. Jake Benham, with a late braking maneuver, will go up into P3, and this is a double Mercedes podium as it stands for the time being. Great showing from both Jarno Opmeer and Jake Benham. Don't forget, Jarno Opmeer is up 9 spots in this Grand Prix. Granted, he did it with a massive undercut strategy, as now the two race car drivers of Reese Linton and Luke Smith do battle side by side in the first sector. Who's going to come up on top here today? And it's Luke Smith through on Reese Linton. 10 lap hold hard. Oh dear, this is not going to be a fun one for Ismail Fassi. Really, it's just like watching your old dog try and waddle his way along the road, as here comes Thomas Ronhaar up the inside, his spring in his step as ever, and he weaves along to allow for Ismail Fassi just to receive his thanks there. Meanwhile, at the front of the order, Jake Benham through on Jarno Opmeer, and so Thomas Ronhaar, he is closing to the back of these leaders here on the precipice of a top 5.
Yep, and with the top 5 firmly set in stone, Reese Linton and Thomas Ronhaar are going to be continuing a little bit of a tradition, which is what we've seen for a few laps now. And that has been taking the fight to each other, coming out of turn 3 and seeing who can the drag race down to turn 6, down to Shiviak, or I believe I've completely butchered that pronunciation, but down to turn 6 and turn 7 at least. We've seen a little bit of a trend, which is drivers get a good run on each other, and you see Luke Smith, in fact, is going to be getting a move on Opmeer here, and just about avoiding disaster, looking very close to that Mercedes. Coming through turn 11, that is a move up for the Alpine. And
now here comes Thomas Ronhaar. He's 50 points back on Jarno Opmeer in the championship, but every move means that he inches closer to a potential second championship on PC. Thomas Ronhaar up the inside of Jarno Opmeer. Here we go. Jarno defending the outside line, but there's just no match for those fresher medium tyres on his fellow countryman. Thomas Ronhaar now into the top 4 of his home Grand Prix, and he'll be all over the back of Luke Smith off the exit of this corner. I think he's looking for the move in towards now the undulating first sector. Here comes Thomas Ronhaar. Onto the podium he goes, and he's through on Luke Smith.
The corners, set himself up for turn 9. Let's see what he can do here. But Ronhaar is going to be lying in wait, trying to charge up.
Oh, Thomas Ronhaar looking for the move up the inside line. The curtain will fall for another masterpiece of an overtake for Thomas Ronhaar. What a move down the inside of turn number 10. Will solidify that move on Jake Benham in towards the braking zone of turn number 11. And now there's just one car in between himself and that P1. He's on the precipice of winning 3 races in a row here in WOR. I don't know if it's ever been seen before, to be completely honest with you. Here he goes off the exit of the final corner. He looks up the inside of Tom Manley like a bullet towards P1. Thomas Ronhaar, fantastic move for him there. Tom Manley relegated into P2 there. There's really no chance he could have defended that position, and Thomas Ronhaar into the lead. Humanly possible at this point in time to try and get close as he can in the title fight, as Ismail Fassi is back on the attack of Xander Van Dyken in towards turn number 1. I wonder, are these medium tyres beginning to fall off? With 11 laps of wear on those mediums, they're 7 lap fresher than Ismail's old hards. However, of course, with the longevity difference, Ismail Fassi has actually been able to go on the attack and make a move on the Aston Martin driver. Yeah, disappointing for both Louis Welch and Dylan Warren to be eliminated from this race, but now all eyes are on the battle between Thomas Ronhaar, Tom Manley, Jake Benham, Luke Smith, you name it, they're probably in the battle. Here they go for the final time to take towards the start finish straight. Thomas Ronhaar already weaving, trying to break the toe of Tom Manley, who's going to be closing that gap and looks a long way round. Thomas Ronhaar defending like a lion for this position. Tom Manley has to back out, and Thomas Ronhaar has retained that P1 for the time being. Tom Manley now has to look in his mirrors at Jake Benham, but is that the opportunity gone? Has Thomas Ronhaar won this race?
I was going to say, if there was any time to make the move, now would have been a good one. He did go for it, but he couldn't make it fully. And Jake Benham is right on the back of Tom Manley right now. He's got half a battery compared to Tom Manley's 15%. He put everything into that first move, and because it didn't pan out, he hasn't got anything to save himself from Benham, who could very well take P2 into this next zone.
Has Thomas Ronhaar secured that win? Tom Manley now looking to defend from Jake Benham for the final few spots on the podium. Thomas Thomas Ronhaar extending that advantage. Jake Benham looking to the inside line, but it's no good. 3 Xbox champions doing battle on PC Tier 1. I think the advantage has gone for Tom Manley as Thomas Ronhaar off the exit of the final 2 corners. He has now won 3 races in a row. Unprecedented dominance from the Dutchman here this evening. The Sauber will take victory on home soil today. Tom Manley in second position. Third is Jake Benham by just 600ths of a second there. Luke Smith will round out the top 4, and Jarno Opmeer defending very well in P5. But Thomas Ronhaar, 3 wins in 3 races. He is in some fine form at the minute, and he shows no signs of slowing down.